Hello. We have some suggested changes from the design that we saw in the early part of May. I wanted to point out some of those changes and the ideas and thoughts behind them, just so that we're able to talk about our end result and the need for the functioning of our space. Thanks for your consideration in the initial drawings and the overall size. We're excited about the possibilities. The first thing I wanted to mention was the change from creating a hallway right here in this space. We would rather maximize the spaces that we have other than to create a new hallway here. Another thing we'd suggest is get rid of the doors that are supposed to be right here entering the room. Instead, just leave the doors here as this entrance to this part of the room. If you put doors on both sides, this will create a security problem. What's going on there while the class is happening, we won't be able to see. But if there's doors here, then we can keep track of everything entering the room down this corridor to the main rehearsal space. We wanted to change around the idea. This space right here should be the rehearsal space, and we can use it left to right. I put 10 bodies in here in a single column to measure the space and make sure it was doable. The function of this space would be to be a section rehearsal space, or 2-section rehearsal space, needing at about 32 or 33 bodies in here. In 3 rows, we can get 30 bodies here and still have enough room for instruction space, with a couple of extra on the side if we use these. Each of these characters here are about 5'10", 5'10" or so, and they're stacked pretty close to how close we are in formation and choir, so it gives a pretty realistic picture of 10 people in a row, and you can imagine doing 2 more rows of these in the room and still have enough room for an upright piano and an instructor in the front. So this is what we really need the rehearsal space to be able to do, to have 2 sections from a 70-member choir, or to teach 1 section in this space, and this would allow it. We would say do not put doors on this side. We'd rather have access, please, from this space, so that we can watch who is going in and who is going out. We'll be able to monitor this way. It's harder to monitor as the instructor, who's way over here in the middle of the room, monitoring what's going on inside this room or who's accessing this room. But if the door is here, then we can clearly see who is walking in and who is walking out. Same with the door over here for the choir office space. This can also be used in its size as a section rehearsal room, just like we do currently with our spaces here, and the access door here. It is not important to us that we have a soundproof or a sound divergent space from the rehearsal space. That is not an important thing. I think that was maybe your consideration in the original design, where the office space was removed from the rehearsal space. But we'd rather use our space this way, with the office space directly connected to the rehearsal room and the access doors visible from the front of the classroom as we teach. This space that's over here was mechanical, and I left those dimensions the same. The other thing that I switched around in this design is I moved the wall. This wall right here was at, I think you had it at 32 feet from this wall, so it went 32, and then it was 36 feet from there to here, and I moved it back a few feet. I didn't think we needed all of that space. This space right here is deep enough the way it's designed on this right now, and I'll put together a little drawing with suggested dimensions that I've used here. And let's see what else. It's really important to us that we are able to actually fit a 70-member choir in the space that you gave us. And right now the only orientation in which that works is this way. If we try and do this same formation this way, we run out of a lot of space really quick. We don't have enough space left to right for 70-member choir. to be on this in the rehearsal space. So the 70 member choir we imagine running this way, and our classroom, then our class facing this way. I don't have this wall here. I didn't think it was necessary, and it's easier to show you the inside of the class when I take this wall out. We would very much like consideration to have windows that are higher than the average height here, above where they would be on the risers, for instance. And I've got an example of them here for natural light to come in. And we would really like a window for the office space, please, too, on the front of the school. I could imagine doing Coon Rapids Fine Arts Wing right here in big letters also. Let's see. Oh yes, another thing we had talked about was the idea of flutter. If you have 4 spaces and they're all directly reflecting, we're going to get a funny sound in the room. So I was suggesting that we angle this wall, that's a part of the rehearsal space, right here, to prevent flutter. Another thing that will help is not putting doors here. This will help prevent flutter also, this space. Another thing, we noticed that you put in a drinking fountain. We love that. Thank you for that consideration in the list of things that we'd asked for. And we have watched kids use the drinking fountain in our area for these last 18 years or so. And we really think that the most convenient place will be when you walk in the hallway. It'll be right on your left. It's also accessible for all of the students quickly, and we can also monitor who is at the drinking fountain from our location in the front of the classroom. I think an overall flow, as students come in the room, they'd be invited to take a drink, and as students leave the room, they're invited also to take a drink. I really think that this is the best place for it to be, if that's at all possible. I suggest windows so we can monitor what's going on in the rehearsal spaces and the office space, and vice versa. If we're in those rehearsal spaces or office spaces, we can see what's going on in the classroom. I have a suggested whiteboard location here too for announcements and such, and I suggest that the doors be placed similar to these positions here for access to those places. I know that in your plan you had a door here also for mechanical, and that's just fine with us. Those are the main changes, I believe, from this space. Thanks for listening and considering these ideas about how to maximize the space for our particular use in the vocal music department.